Hi guys, welcome to the video. I'm recording from my car again because these videos are pretty easy to make, and sometimes I actually have ideas come to me, while I'm driving. Because here in Colorado, we drive a lot. like, I might have said it before already. Like a 2-hour drive back in the Northeast feels way more miserable than it does here. Like here, it just goes by so much faster for some reason. But I wanted to talk to you today about imposter syndrome as a software engineer, which is something that I constantly deal with and have dealt with like when I'm working. And what exactly is imposter syndrome? It's this feeling that, you're not supposed to be there, and, it's almost like you're playing the system, like you're not actually who you say you are to someone else, and it just feels like, you're gonna be here until the jig is up, and then you gotta find a new job. I don't really think I did a good job explaining it, but what I can attest to is the way that I feel like when I'm at work. I've always gotten overall good feedback from my time working in tech. When I was like a test engineer when I first started, when I was a software engineer last year, like I should say from like 2022 to early this year, like that, when I held that title working in diagnostics, I got good feedback like all the time. And I mean, well, this job is still fresh, but like I've gotten like good feedback, and I guess I generally come off as like a smart dude to most people. And I don't want to like, I feel kind of weird saying that, but I guess it's the truth. And that being said, I still second guess myself, and I honestly like second guess my own skills as a software engineer all the time. And like even like as I'm starting this new job, like what's been required of me, and I'm constantly second guessing, like, am I actually like meeting the expectation, or am I falling a little short? And even when I'm like getting into it, because essentially what I can tell you guys without getting like specific or whatever, not that I don't think I signed an NDA, but like I know it's still, you're not supposed to share too much detail, but I can give you like loose details about what I do. So I maintain a code base of Python scripts, and these Python scripts may or may not be, well, they're definitely all linked. They share like a common library, and they're just used by manufacturing to test these SSDs for my company, because it's a storage device company, memory device company. And these are all constantly failing, or like they need to be like updated to meet the new spec requirements or whatever, what have you. And it's interesting because my experience doesn't directly speak to this, but it can be like a learned skill, because like the specs aren't exactly like specs I've looked at in the past, but like a spec is still a spec. The thing shall this, the thing shall this, the thing shall not this, whatever. And it's just constantly, it's more like, I mean, coding is obviously half the job, but the other half of it is just knowing how to navigate these specs and find the relevant information, and then go to the config file that is tailored to the specific SKU, like the specific model of hard drive, and update the field as appropriately as needed. And like that as a like overhanging like bigger picture, that doesn't really sound that difficult. But with any job, you might be kind of questioning things like, oh, like, how do you do X, Y, and Z? And at my last company, it was almost like expected that you would take like up to 6 months to like fully come up to speed. But like with this job, I had the official meeting this week with my boss to like kind of gauge what the expectation is, and the expectation is I have to be debugging several. He didn't say one or two, he said several of these like test scripts every day. And at least in this moment in time, for me, it's a little intimidating, just because, I'm still new to like the low level behavior of these drives. So like if there's a failure, it's not hard to debug the scripts and like figure out where the failure is coming from. But then when you're trying to gauge, all right, is this a script or software problem, or is this like a genuine hardware behavior that is not expected, then that's the kind of stuff that I'm kind of new at, where I'm not really sure like about the behavior of the actual hardware under test being these drives. So like that's the learning curve. And it's doable. I just, the thing is though, is that it feels like this job feels like a complete free-for-all. I guess I could walk you guys through my mindset like this week as I've been like debugging these scripts. So like I said, I'm able to debug the scripts relatively easily because of my history working with the Python language and just knowing how to debug software. That's not super difficult for me. And then drilling down into the code to figure out like, all right, why is this failing? What's missing? Maybe like there's this field that's missing from the config file. But the goal is to be able to take the problem as far as I can take it without asking another person. And I did that successfully on like this past Thursday specifically. Like I recall working on this one script where I asked this guy who's becoming one of my mentors, or a mentor figure, because he's like one of the lead software engineers. I'm sorry about my freaking like camera thing here, guys. It's like such shit. It keeps shaking so easily. But I was able to take that problem that I was specifically working on right to the very end, where like essentially I got to a point where I just couldn't find the relevant field in the spec. And I asked him for help, and he was trying to find it himself and he couldn't find it. And then he ended up just pointing me to the person I should have asked, or I could ask. And that made me feel good. I'm like, all right, he can't do it either. I got to the exact same point as him before asking for help. And that's basically the expected behavior. Like, I don't want like to get to a point where I'm just relying on somebody else to do my job, right? I want to actually be the one doing my job and providing the value. And I did that, at least in this one situation. But I'm still constantly second guessing myself because this job, it feels like a free-for-all. Like the tone is completely different than my last company, where like my last company was more, there was like an expectation of, coming up to speed over like a 6-month period. And there was more like evident mentorship in place, like especially on my team being so small. Like it was me, a younger guy like myself, and 2 senior engineers who, while they did have their own responsibilities and stuff, they were more than willing and able to mentor myself and my other coworker like pretty easily without any problems. And at this job, it's not the same energy. And I don't know if it's because I'm a contractor or what, but like there's this, I don't know how to describe it. I really don't. It just feels like a free-for-all. Like I feel like I can't really just ask people for help all the time because it's like survival mode. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a bad look to ask people for help all the time. Or at least, I'm still trying to gauge the balance. And it's a little stressful, but I gotta really get out of this lane, and this guy's coming up on me. Okay, but yeah, so I think I'm struggling with this job. It's like, it's interesting too, because like my manager is just like, like, all right, it's okay to ask for help, but everyone has their own responsibilities too. So it was almost like it was implied that I was just I'm supposed to like figure everything out completely on my own. And like I know one of the first people that I was working with to come up to speed on things, there was no like clear process to train up new people. And the person that I was sent to like come up to speed was kind of surprised because like they were also a contractor and they seemed pretty confused themselves, and they were figuring out a lot of stuff on their own, and they just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, to be honest. Just like the way the onboarding was done, because there wasn't really like a process for it. And again, like it could be because I'm not a full-time employee, I'm a contractor, so it's like through a third-party company. And then also a lot of my team is contractors, so like while the company at large is doing well, I'm a little worried because just if shit hits the fan in any capacity, like I can imagine that they're gonna just cut all the contractors. Like I don't see why they wouldn't do that. So it's just kind of like it's me against the clock, I guess. Like I don't know if they're gonna be able to bring us all on as full-time employees. Then I'll be like without a job. Then it'll be like fuck, and then it'll be tough. So I'm doing what I can to come up to speed and everything, and I think I'm doing a good job. I was assigned this one Jira ticket with I think it was 7 scripts, and I was derailed from that the first week just because I was working on a different ticket on a different project, but then that was put on hold, so I was able to really get through more than half of it this week, and then that leaves me with 2 or 3 remaining scripts that I can hopefully bust out by, at the time of recording this, it's a Saturday, so next week I can get through the remaining 3, hopefully, early in the week, and then move on to something else. And I'm just worried because I'm just I don't know if that's the expectation or what. I'm not really getting much feedback. Jeez. Yeah, some Corvette almost went into my car. Anyway, so I'm just kind of wrestling with that mentally, I guess. And what's interesting though is that I was reached out to by a recruiter for an embedded systems engineer for a different storage device company. This one's for servers, and I wasn't exactly planning to jump ship anytime soon. It's only been a month. I literally haven't even been at the company for a full month, but I will by Wednesday of next week. It'll be the end of my first month. And I still say I'm open to new opportunities on LinkedIn purely because if another opportunity finds me, I'll be open to it. I'll be open to hearing anybody out strictly because I'm working a contract gig and there's no stability in that. So that being said, the recruiter who hit me up was a recruiter for a company. It wasn't a recruiting agency, and they're looking for entry-level embedded software engineers, or at least they're open to the whole skill set, but entry level they're open to. So that could go my way, and they could match my current pay. So even though I'd have to leave where I'm living right now because I would be working 2 hours away, and that's an awful commute, that if that actually goes my way, I'll be shocked, but I might have to do it because it's either I take that, if that I'm not expecting that opportunity to go my way. I'm open to it. I'll interview, I'll fully entertain them. But if it actually works out, that'll be nuts. Because it's either if that actually works out, that's the option. But the alternative is I just stay with my current company as a test engineer, essentially. Even though I'm on a dev team, I'm doing validation. It's not it's validation development, for the infrastructure for validation, but it's not what I want to be doing long term. So I want to be doing embedded software engineering, firmware engineering, as long as I'm an engineer, because I really don't see the EE side of things, the electrical engineering side of things, being overtaken by AI. I just don't see it happening. I hope I'm not wrong, but that's just what it feels like. Having the overview of the industry that I have, as I've worked in it, and just knowing how software works at a high level. I don't need to know how AI works. I just know that what goes into the EE stuff, and I just don't see it being taken by AI. And embedded software engineering, I think it's the best of both worlds. You're operating right on the bare metal line between software and hardware, and I think it's cool. So maybe I'll just change my perspective. If I can actually get into a role like that, maybe my perspective on engineering will change. Maybe I'll want to stay in the industry indefinitely. But for now, I still want to make my way out of it. But for now, I know that what I'm doing right now, it's okay. It's not it's not design work. It's debugging other people's shit and some of this stuff. And I'm super hesitant to change these scripts and make it's all integration. So I'm super hesitant to really modify these scripts, and I'm trying to gauge the fine line of all right, do I actually need to know how this thing works exactly, or can I just find the error, fix the error, move on? And the pressure on the team tells me the latter, that we just want to find the error, fix it, update the config file, maybe fix the script if need be, and that's it. But who knows, man? If I find the opportunity with the right company that would actually be willing to train me up a little bit, to be an embedded software engineer, because like I got 1.5 years of that experience, then I could continue going that direction. I could be working on like the software hardware interfaces, the low level stuff, which would be kind of cool, you know, working on little microcontrollers and loading firmware onto those and changing the bits and stuff like that. Because like there is some overlap with that, with what I'm doing right now, because like I need to like go to the spec, find the command, see what each individual bit is doing, and make sure that that, like, you know, whether or not it's supposed to be set or not, or supported, I should say, by the customer. And, you know, like I make it sound so easy, but it's really not, because like I'm constantly second guessing myself. It feels like I'm not supposed to be there. And I guess that's imposter syndrome as a whole, is you feel like you're not supposed to be there, even if there's evidence to the contrary. You still feel like you're not supposed to be there. So yeah, I guess if I did find another full-time opportunity, I would totally take it, purely because this position is a contract position and it doesn't line up with the exact thing that I would want to do as long as I stay in tech. Because if I become an embedded software engineer or a firmware engineer and I got 3 years experience, I will be golden. I will be golden. That's all I need. Not even 5, but 3. I will be golden, because, you know, I got 1.5 years right now, even though it's like it was with one company. And if I can put that on paper with another company, I'll be golden. I'll be able to find, because like a lot of these companies, like I've seen the experience is 3 to 5 years. And if I can just demonstrate those embedded skills, I'll be good. But you're not gonna catch me trying to freaking build some board on my spare time, because I'd rather take the long way to do it, because like I want to enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, and I'd rather just like learn the skills on the job. And there are different levels and layers to software engineering. So like there is the ever-changing flow of tech, you know, like where like there's the AI side of things and the different frameworks that are coming out in the context of like full stack development, like front end development, and then the DevOps side of things like Kubernetes, Docker, like for like build environments, and like there's that stuff that's like ever so changing all the time. But my skill set's never spoken to that stuff anyway. The cool thing about embedded software engineering is that like the core fundamentals of that stuff don't change. So like, yeah, C++ will come out with different versions and stuff, but like if you know C++, you know C++. If you know Python, you know Python. If you know, and well, Python I shouldn't even lump into that, because it's not an embedded software engineering. You use it for like the builds and the automation side. But like C and C++ are C and C++, and just like knowing how to navigate the EE side of embedded software engineering is a skill that, well, it's kind of constant. Like once you learn it, you learn it. So that's what I'm shooting for, I guess, as long as I'm an engineer. But the whole purpose of this video was to talk about how I deal with imposter syndrome. And I guess this was a very long-winded rant and long-winded way of saying that I just kind of work through it. Like I just suppress those feelings of like I shouldn't be here. Eventually they're gonna catch on and I'll get fired or something. I just kind of suppress it and do my job. Like I especially gain more confidence the more things I figure out. Like towards the end of this week especially, like I can give you another example. So this was yesterday. I don't know why like I worded it like that. It was literally yesterday. So I fixed a script. I got my PR ready, and then while I was waiting for my coworkers to review said PR, I figured out a different script, and I was like, oh shit, okay, I can fix this. So I fixed it, I updated the config file with the appropriate field, and then I threw it on the same PR, and that was 2 scripts within like a few hour range, I guess. I don't know the exact time frame, but that made me feel really good. I'm like, oh shit, I actually did it. So it's like, it's kind of crazy how, you know, it's like, you're almost building evidence to yourself that you can do the job. Because I'm literally constantly second guessing myself on the job, but I just kind of suppress it and keep going. Because, you know, I have to. It's just life. So yeah, I'm hoping that whether or not I end up staying here like I planned for a while, or if I actually get this embedded software engineering opportunity somehow, I'm sure whatever's meant to happen is gonna happen, and I guess we'll just see how things go. In the back of my head, my subconscious plan was to build the embedded software engineering skill set, and then once I have that, if I wanted to try something else, I could, and it would be okay. Because, if the other thing didn't work out, then I could always fall back onto embedded software engineering, and I wouldn't be miserable because I kind of like doing it, I'm kind of good at it, and it would be okay. So I guess we'll just see how things go, guys. But that being said, I think I've taken enough of your time. I hope you guys got something out of this. If you're working in tech and you're like struggling with imposter syndrome, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you can relate. More importantly, I'm sorry that my phone stand is kind of shit, so my freaking phone keeps like jiggling all over the place. Like, it's so bad. Oh my god. And I'm trying to like keep it steady, but it's not, and this thing's so cheap, I don't know. Trying to get like the right angle, and there it is, right at the end of the video. All right, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I'll catch you on the next one.